We are here at La Casa Hamilton, and I'm gonna get rid of one of these cars by the end of this vlog. Now, you wonder why we are comparing the 765LT with the SF90, and there's a darn good reason, because they're both right around $500,000. They both took a year for me to get. I've custom ordered both of them from the factory, and they're both kind of this manufacturer's special edition that is not their hypercar, but it's not their supercar. They're kind of that in-between car. This one, of course, has the hybrid motor. This one, of course, is full gas. And I think Tommy and I are gonna go drive them around and show you guys what we love about the 765 and the SF90 and what we hate about both. And ultimately, you're gonna figure out why one of them has to go. I genuinely think it might surprise you, but maybe not. This SF90 has some massive power. It's rated at 986 horsepower. That's with a little over 200 horsepower coming from the front mounted 3 electric engines. It has a really fast 0 to 60 time. We're talking 2.1 seconds, but Car and Driver was able to get it down to 2.0 seconds. And this car actually stole the title for the world's quickest car from my beloved Porsche 918 that held it for 7 years. That car did the acceleration from 0 to 60 at 2.1 seconds. Now this is really fast, don't get me wrong. I had my son timing it here on his phone when we did a hard pull, and we got it to 2.1 seconds. Pretty freaking impressive for a car, if you ask me. Dude. And this Ferrari does a quarter mile at just 9.5 seconds at 148 miles an hour. So this baby is fast right from the factory. The thing that kind of deceives me a little bit though is the sound of it, right? Because of the electric motors helping out and because it has factory exhaust on it, it's actually pretty tame and modest just in terms of feel and sound. Should I fix that? You're gonna find out soon.
This is a 2023 McLaren 765LT Spider. This thing comes factory with 755 horsepower. This specific car is tuned, so it's closer to 800, but the tune didn't add like crazy power. We wanted to keep it pretty reliable while also making it sound amazing because this exhaust is nuts. This car will do the quarter mile in 10.4 seconds at 147 miles an hour, so it's no slouch.
60.
I'm gonna get on it a little bit. There's not a car that is that much fun to drive in this price point. This car also does the Nürburgring in sub 7 seconds. I've been lucky enough to track this car. I haven't tracked the SF90 yet, but while tracking this, I was blown away. I think McLaren has some of the best traction control in the industry. They just inspire confidence when you're driving.
As you know, this is not the Spider model, it is the Stradale, the coupe. It's also worth mentioning that at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this thing did a lap in just 1 minute and 29 seconds. That's scary fast. Every red light is an opportunity for a drag race, folks.
Bro.
I just smoked the 765LT, but I don't think Tommy gave it all it had.
He was just right next to me in the SF90, and he was just gone. It's like I was standing still, and this thing is ridiculously fast. That is nuts.
And this thing is not good on gas, so we're gonna need to get some gas. I can't believe how quickly I need to fill this again. We calculated that just 130 miles, this thing got down to 1 bar of fuel. Now, when it comes to styling, I just can't get the rear taillights out of my mind that they look so much like the Camaro, but that just is what it is. Now, this one certainly has a more elegant style to it than the 765LT. It looks a little cleaner, a little more elegant, as I mentioned, and it just doesn't look quite as raw and aggressive on the road, but it still looks really good. I'm not gonna lie, this car turned out really well.
Yeah, as far as the styling in the SF90, I think that that car is equal parts beautiful and very aggressive looking. I know the back end was controversial when the car first came out. I have friends that hated it. I personally think the back end is great on that car. It's simple while still being fun. I don't know, it just looks like a Ferrari. It's amazing, you know? McLaren did a really good job with the 765 with making it aggressive and beautiful as well as the SF90. I would say they're very comparable in styling. They both have amazing road presence, and I think they're both great looking cars.
I landed on the SF90 specifically because it fell into that category of that super special supercar, right? When I bought it, these things were going for $200,000 over MSRP, so it seemed like a no-brainer because the local dealer was offering it to me at MSRP. I assumed you couldn't really lose money buying this thing, and it had the quickest 0 to 60 time for a solid year, so I like fast cars.
The SF90 is hypercar performance with supercar budget. We're going for $800,000 or $900,000 back when we ordered his car, even just for a coupe with fair options on it. Now they've settled down back to MSRP. I think that's a reason why Steve may want to hang on to 765. It's a more special car. The SF90 was made to order. They're not limited production. Pretty much anybody can get one, you know, as long as you can afford it, obviously. Where the 765 is one of those cars that you have to be one of McLaren's top customers to be considered for one, and be loyal to the brand, obviously.
There's nothing more exciting than sitting in a car figurator and being able to just build a car any way that you want it. Now, it did take a long time to come in, just like the 765LT, and things do change when you have to wait for a car. So ultimately, I landed on this car because I thought it looked good, I could configure it, it was super fast, and I didn't seem like you could lose money on it. I definitely have a couple favorite things about this car. One of my favorite things is the spec. It is the most different spec that we've done. It is bold, yet classy. We were very particular about the white exterior. I think they had 8 different white or shades of white. We wanted this very specific one that wasn't common. I think even at the time the salesman wasn't familiar with it. And then we started testing out interiors on that spec session, and we were surprised at how good the yellow looked. And I don't think I have a yellow interior in any of the other cars, so that was all validated when I got it in, and we were able to see it that this, in my opinion, spec just looks amazing, and there is nothing really out there quite like this, even though it is a semi-mainstream car. The other thing that I like about it is the speed. Now, this is one of only 2 cars where I've ever felt real G-force in it, and that was the Plaid and this car. Most of the other cars are extremely fast, don't get me wrong, but this one really glued me to my seat. I just wish that it had the rumble in the exhaust feel, so you could kind of pair that along like the 918 does. The 918, you feel it, you hear it when you're accelerating really hard.
But why purchase the SF90? The short answer is it's an amazing car. It rides really well. After driving it, I think the only car that I'd compare it to as far as road noise, how stable it feels at speed, acceleration, is honestly Steve's Chiron. That car is just mind-blowingly fast, extremely, extremely stable at speed. And that's really impressive for a car that isn't $3 million MSRP. So I think that's a huge win for the SF90.
There are some things that are not only my least favorite, but that I kind of hate. I think Ferrari went way too digital with this car. They've already matched a gas engine with a hybrid motor. So you have a semi-electric vehicle, and a lot of people complain about how fully electric vehicles are taking the soul out of car ownership. And I think that a little bit of that took the soul out of this, that a lot of times it is in full electric mode or the engine's extremely quiet because it's relying more on the hybrid motor. But when they went and made this incredibly digital gauge cluster, that's what kind of continues to pull it away from the traditional Ferrari. I'm not a huge fan of it now. I had the Plaid, and that's the most electric vehicle ever, but you kind of expect that out of Tesla. I don't expect a fully digital everything out of the Ferrari. I mean, to do basically anything, right down to the AC, the heat, the radio, even my headlights and mirror adjusting, it's all a touch button where you're swiping or sliding, and I just don't like that. I don't think it belongs in a car like this.
For the SF90, I've only driven it a little bit, but I've driven it enough to know that I don't love how techy it is. The dash just is a little overwhelming, and maybe that's just because I'm not used to it. Like the start-stop button on the steering wheel, it's a touch screen almost. It feels like I'm playing with an iPhone, and the 765 does not give that impression at all to me. This really feels like a driver's car that you can take to the track and set records, but also bring to the grocery store and just enjoy in day-to-day life, which makes this thing really special.
I'm also disappointed that the value didn't quite hold. Now, these are still actually selling for right around MSRP or a little bit above, which is pretty awesome. Money can still be made, or at least break even, but you can't go get $800,000 for one of these like you could a year ago, so that's kind of sucky. I do really like how comfortable it is. I was surprised that the racing carbon fiber seats are as comfy as they are. I mean, they're not a 10 out of 10, but it's quite comfortable, and the ride is incredibly smooth. The suspension on this is actually one of the best suspension systems on any of the super hypercars, so this is a really good car to just cruise around and go have fun in.
This car feels more like a race car. As you can see, I'm bouncing around right now. I have it in track mode, so the suspension's really stiff and RPMs are a little higher than if I were cruising in normal mode. I was blown away by the drivability of the SF90, how simple it is to drive.
The last thing that I don't really like about this is the acceleration at higher speeds. When you manually shift or just hit the acceleration really hard going 80 or 100, I'm just kind of underwhelmed with how fast it kicks in from that point. Because of the ever-changing dynamic of my collection, the fact that I drive hypercars so much and enjoy them so much more than the standard supercars, I need to be really, really picky about which of these special supercars that I drive. Now, I love the 765LT, and this one is new, and it's been a lot of fun. But I gotta take all those likes, dislikes, styling cues into consideration for both of them when I decide if I really wanna keep cars, because these things tie up a lot of capital, and they could prevent me from getting various other cars. So we're gonna head home and talk about which one is going and ultimately why that's gotta go. I think we know which one's faster now too, yeah?
Yeah, for real, the SF90 smoked me, and this car is fast.
I thought this would actually keep right up with it, although it was really close, it wasn't far.
It was close. Once I caught up and we were going the same speed, it held it, but off the line, that thing's crazy.
At the end of the day though, it's not all about speed, it's about the full package, and because of that, the Ferrari SF90 is going to go bye-bye. Even though I've only had it for like a little over a week, it's just gotta go. Is there anything stopping us from dropping this off at the dealer right now?
Technically no, but I don't want to see it go so soon. I've driven it like twice.
No point in keeping it, so we're gonna send that off, but thanks so much for watching, guys. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.